Hi, my name is David Wallimann. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players like you find your voice on the instrument, develop it to tell your own personal musical story. And today we're going to embellish that story by simply adding 2 extra notes. I kind of like to see improvisation as a storytelling exercise. And just like any storytelling experience, you're using words to tell your story. One word after the other creates a sentence. One sentence after the other creates the story. In music, one note after the other creates a lick. One lick after the other creates a musical sentence, and those musical sentences together, if you develop, create that story that can be very personal. And the more notes you have at your disposal, is that the word? No, that's not the right word. Sorry, my French is coming out. Disposition, that's what I want to say. Like, the more notes you can choose from, the more words you can make, basically. And today we're going to take a look at the minor pentatonic scale, that 5-note scale that you most likely are comfortable with, and you probably know a bunch of licks with those, and you could probably even make your own licks on the spot and be very expressive with those. But you might be missing out on some extra vocabulary that we can add by simply adding 2 notes. And this is going to work in most blues rock situations. Let's take a look at the close-up. Grab your guitar, because these lessons can be your practice session at the same time. So we're going to make this interactive. Go grab it. Let's get started. All right, so you guessed it. This lesson has to do with intervals, and 2 intervals in particular. We're going to work in the key of A minor pentatonic. We're going to use the first position as a home base, and then we're going to expand a little bit and explore other positions. And then you can, of course, develop that into other ideas all across the fretboard. But for this, here is the first position we're going to use, A minor pentatonic. We all know it. It's the pentatonic with 2 notes per string. And that's usually what players start with, and it's a really easy scale to get under the fingers, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. All the blues licks that we've been used to hearing over and over. And so forth. This pentatonic scale is made of 5 notes. Penta comes from the word penta. Penta, it means 5, so we have 5 notes, and those notes have names. And when I say names, we can actually name the name of the note, as in A, C, D, and so forth, but that's not really useful for what we're trying to do here. Instead of naming them that way, we're going to take a look at the intervals, the position of that note within a scale. That's what gives the blueprint of the scale, and that's what gives it its color. A pentatonic scale, a minor pentatonic scale, is made of a root, which is going to be 1, a minor third. The minor third determines the nature of the musical element we're dealing with. In this case, it's a scale, so it's a minor scale. It's part of the minor scale family. Then we have a perfect 4th, perfect 5th, and a minor 7th. And if you use that formula, root, minor third, 4th, 5th, minor 7th, from a different note, you will also have a minor pentatonic scale. So you just need to know the formula. And we're very used to playing that. It's important to know what these intervals are, because that will allow you to make better choices later on when we play over more complex chord progressions to highlight some of the notes of the chords. The 2 notes we're going to add to this are the missing notes. Because we have a root and a minor third, we don't have a second here. And the most useful second to use is the major second, which is 2 frets higher than the root, than the 1. So if your 1 is here on the low E string 5th fret, the major second is 2 frets higher on the 7th fret. And we can basically play any root and add 2 frets, and we'll have a major second. So in our minor pentatonic scale, we have 1, the major second, minor third, 4th, 5th, 7th, 1, 2 frets higher. That'll be our major second. But we can also play this note contained in this zone of the fretboard. So we're going to move this note, which is on the 4th string, 9th fret. We're going to move it here to the 3rd string, 4th fret, which is the same exact sound, the same pitch. So we're going to move it here to keep it contained here. So we got our major second. After that, we have a minor third again, a 4th, a 5th, a minor 7th, a root, a major second, 2 frets higher, 1st string, 7th fret, and minor third. So we added 1 note. That note is not going to be used as, I call it a skeleton note. The skeleton is going to be the minor pentatonic scale. Those are the strong notes. Think of skeleton, bones, strong. We're going to think of the major second as something that is added to the skeleton to make it more recognizable. So that's what we have now. We have a 6-note scale. That's the first note we're going to add. And you need to know to be able to visualize where those seconds are within each position. In this case, the first position. So we have a second here, here, and here. Same notes, separated by an octave. That's for the first note. The second note we're going to add is the 6th. For the minor pentatonic scale, we don't have a 6th, so we're going to have to add that. That 6th is found between the 5th and the 7th, basic math. And we have 2 types of 6s. We have a minor 6th and a major 6th. That's why we have 2 frets where we can fit that 6th for the minor and the major. We're going to use the major 6th because that major 6th is found in the most commonly used minor scale ever for blues rock. That's the Dorian mode. It's a major 6th. The major 6th is found 2 frets higher than the 5th. So if our minor pentatonic scale is made of 1, minor 3, 4, 5, we have a major 6th 2 fret higher from the 5th, which is on the 5th string, 9th fret. That note, we are going to move it so that it's more contained. We're gonna really contain our position so that it's accessible without too much extensions. And we can hear that note of the major 6th. We can hear it right here. Same pitch, right? So that's the 6th we're going to use here. That 6th is on the 4th string, 4th fret. And we have another major 6th, 2 frets higher from the 5th. So minor pentatonic scale 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 3, 4, 5. On the 2nd string, 5th fret, 2 frets higher, we have the major 6th, 2nd string, 7th fret. Okay, so within that position, we have 3 major seconds, right here, right here, and right here, and we have 2 major 6th. One here on the 4th string, 4th fret, and one on the 2nd string, 7th fret. Okay, now if we play our minor pentatonic scale with those 2 additional notes, anytime we find them in that contained zone, we'd have this scale. That's what we have. That's the scale we're going to use. It's the Dorian mode, the Dorian scale, but you can see it, and I encourage you to see it as a minor pentatonic scale with an additional major 2nd and major 6th. All right, now what do we do with this? Well, a lot of different things. We're going to consider, again, the minor pentatonic scale as the skeleton. And we can phrase with that skeleton. Each note is a bone, and we can just make words with these bones, with these 5 bones. We can flex one of these bones like that. And that's probably what you're doing already, and it sounds great, and you start to phrase and build your musical story with those bones and those flexed bones. The thing with these flexed bones is that when you take a note, for example, a very flexible bone is in that position is on the 3rd string, 7th fret. We can bend it, flex it, so that it sounds like another bone, and that's usually what we do. So in essence, even though you're bending notes, you're still really hearing the minor pentatonic scale. Right? That's what we're doing. Now that we have 2 additional notes, which we can see them as bones, but I like to see them as addition to the skeleton to build the actual persona of that scale, we can start bending those additional things so that they land like a bone. So if we have these additional notes, things to the skeleton, 2nd, 6th, 2nd, 6th, 2nd, we can bend those so that they sound like a note, like a strong bone. to add color, right? So if I just use that principle alone by flexing or bending one of these additional things that we're adding to our skeleton, we have some phrases like this. It's starting to sound a little more colorful than the plain minor pentatonic, right? Right? It's a little more colorful. Another thing we can do is actually take some of the words, the licks, the ideas that we have, and incorporate to them these two additional notes. Let's say that we have something like this. Very commonly used lick. We can maybe inject to that one of those additional notes with that zone of the fretboard. So if we look at the zone that I'm playing in, I'm using the first 4 strings. I'm bending the 7th fret 3rd string, that bone, flexing that bone, so it sounds like the next one. Then I'm playing 2nd string 5th fret, 1st string 5th fret, and then just descending that scale. Okay? Within that particular zone of the fretboard, what are the additional things that we can add within that zone? Well, we can add a major 2nd here on the 3rd string 4th fret. We can also add a major 6th on the 2nd string 7th fret, and we can add a major 2nd on the 1st string 7th fret. So those are the notes that we can add. So if I take my lick, maybe I can descend every single bone plus the additional things we added. Something like that, and that's developing into something a little more precise, maybe a little richer, more adjectives to our story. That's one thing we can do. Another thing we could do is maybe phrase like you would with that traditional 5-bone skeleton, the 5-note minor pentatonic scale. Play these licks and target one additional element. So let's target, for example, this note right here, which is the major 2nd on the 3rd string 4th fret. We're going to try to incorporate that to our phrasing. So we're going to phrase like we usually do. Minor pentatonic scale. And every once in a while, we're going to add that note. We're getting comfortable with the sound of that. Okay? Then we can do the same, targeting another element. Maybe we can target this note right here, which is the major 6th on the 2nd string 7th fret. For example. Starting to be colorful, right? And once you get used to the sound of that, in relation to the chord you're playing over or the backing track, you're going to start to hear some new colors. And eventually you can add some adjacent positions, maybe position number 2. And start to find where those major 2nds and major 6th are within that 2nd position. And so forth. And that creates something very colorful that is very, very useful over a blues chord progression. You can download the charts for this lesson and a free backing track to get you started for free. All you need to do is visit the link below, enter your best email address, and I'll be sending you that right away. And if this was your first visit on this channel, thank you so much for watching this video. you should consider subscribing because I have about 3 videos coming every single week helping guitar players like you find your voice on the instrument, develop it to tell your own personal, beautiful musical story. Thanks so much for watching this. I'll see you next time.